DC Universe Rebirth, the biggest comics event of the 21st century. The greatest graphic novels. Volume 1 collections of the best-selling comic books. Get them now wherever graphic novels are sold.
Hey everyone, I'm Blake. I'm from DC Comics, and I'm going to bring up somebody to do a DC University Art Academy class, and his name is Rafael Albuquerque. Give it up.
Thank you.
Hey man, how you doing?
Hey, how are you, man?
You look great.
Thanks.
Beard looks very combed. It's a very nice look.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So what do you want to draw? Does anybody have any requests on what he's going to draw? I don't know who Spider-Man is. Batman? All right, let's do a Batman. You cool with the Batman?
Sure. Well, since I don't have a pencil, I'll try to sketch with, it's like a hidden sketch. I will use the back of the pen to try to mark something that I can recognize after.
How often do you have to, do you do that ever, or is this just...
Just in conventions.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I just don't have a pencil, a handy pencil.
Okay.
So that's a way I don't have to draw straight to the inks, which usually makes it worse.
Oh yeah, okay.
But that's right. Can you see all right?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. So tell us how you got your start. Or when you got your start. When you got your start.
My start in comics?
Yes.
I actually started in 2003. I used to do comics for an indie comic publisher called AK Comics. They used to do Middle Eastern comics like superheroes, which was an interesting start. But then I did a few more indie comics, but quickly I went to DC in 2006, I guess. Oh, thank you. That's much better.
Now we're rocking. Now we're really going.
You know, a real pro, you always bring the tools, which I'm not, clearly.
If you're not a real professional, then
no.
This is bad news for everyone here.
You know, eventually people will figure out my tricks.
You've been tricking everybody for a long time, so you're doing just fine. You're doing okay. So do you remember what your first comics were? Were they Brazilian comics or American comics?
The first comic I ever read?
Yes.
No, I don't think so. I remember that I really got into DC watching the Super Friends cartoon.
Oh,
that
yeah.
really got me into superheroes. But comics is I don't know, maybe Disney or something like that.
Disney?
Yeah, probably Disney characters like Mickey or I don't know. I don't remember.
You've come a long way since Disney with vampires and...
Oh, no, yeah. I changed my taste a bit.
So do you remember the first kind of DC Comics property or Marvel or any of those others? Do you remember which one was the first one you really liked?
Not the first one, but I really remember that I followed... Actually, the first comic I remember reading was Superman versus Swamp Thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then I the other thing I remember by that time, because in Brazil it comes out much later than here. Now not anymore, but at the time.
How much later did it come out?
Like 3-4 years later.
Wow.
Yeah. But I remember reading that arc when Superman went off the Earth and he was like traveling in space with not an oxygen, but like a little mask.
So he didn't have space dust in his mouth.
Yeah, something like that. That was cool. I liked that. And then eventually, when I was a teenager, Dark Knight and all those classics, that hooked me up in comics for sure.
Is that the kind of, or are those the kind of comics that influenced your style mostly, or was there something else that influenced you?
Oh, there's a lot of creators that influenced my art. definitely a lot of Argentinian and and Italian artists. I love the loose approach they tend to have, and the use of black and white, which I try to use in my pages. But yeah, of course, Frank Miller is a genius. I mean, he definitely influenced me.
Oh yeah. And with your Batman drawings, is there any Batman artists that you really like growing up? Batman artists?
Batman artists? I think well, it's tough because most of them are pretty good. But I would say that Mazzucchelli is my favorite Batman artist, yeah.
And when did you first start reading all these comics? I know in Brazil you're getting them a little bit later, and they may not come out in the same format. So when did you start reading all of these? Was it in the late 80s or a little bit later?
Yeah, like late 80s, early 90s. Like 1994, 1994, that's when I really, comics really hooked me up. That was the time I was like reading everything I could. So, and that's when I actually started reading, these classics, Dark Knight, stuff like that. Because before that I wasn't really a comic follower. I was like much more into animation and TV. But then I started watching that Paul Dini and Bruce Timm series, the animated series of Batman. That was really badass, and I started really looking into comics more and more.
So did you want to do something else besides maybe be an animator or something else besides a comic artist growing up, or what did you want to do?
Like in animation?
Yeah.
You know what? I feel that I'd love to do something, for the experience of it. That should be fun. But I feel that comics is my thing. It's the way I think storytelling is through comics, not through movies or animation or anything like that. So even if I did something for another media, I would always be a comic artist doing that,
Well, there's a lot of motion in your art from panel to panel. You really feel the characters moving back and forth. Do you visualize that in your mind, or how does that work usually when you're reading a script?
Yeah, this is embarrassing actually, because sometimes I caught myself, looking in the mirror and trying to make the expressions to get it right. Sometimes I'm not even looking at the mirror, but it works out, I guess. I think it's something I do well.
So when you're doing Batgirl, are you looking in the mirror and just trying to mimic Batgirl? Really, I mean, you are very pretty. I mean, I'm sure.
That's a mean question. Well, eventually, who knows? Same emotions, right?
Yeah. So what drew you to Batgirl? For all of you that don't know, Rafael is working on Batgirl right now, and it's awesome. It is an amazing, amazing book.
Thank you.
That just came out. So, what drew you to that project, and what made you want to draw Batgirl?
I didn't understand the question. I'm so sorry.
What made you want to draw Batgirl?
What?
Why?
Why? First reason was because I'm a big fan of Hope Larson. I love her indie work, and I really wanted to work with her. And when Mark Doyle told me that she would be on board, that really interested me. The other reason is that I'm known for drawing horror books and, male superheroes, muscles, stuff like that. And I just felt that I needed to do something different. And I just love the character. I mean, it's a fun book. It's completely different than what I do in American Vampire, and allowed me to do a different kind of storytelling too, which is, challenging.
And the first story arc takes place in Japan, right?
Yeah, Okinawa.
So what kind of reference are you using for? I mean, do you use a lot of photo reference in your artwork, or?
I did a lot this time. Hope did a great job looking for it. She got me a lot of reference, not only the buildings and the city, but also the costumes, because first issue the story is in a parade that happens there, so they wear traditional costumes, which is pretty cool. So I had to use more reference than I'm used to, but it was pretty good. I really enjoyed it.
And how much of the new costume designs for these new villains and these new heroes, how much of it was you and how much was Hope?
Actually, we worked together on it. When she sends me an idea for a villain or a new character, I always like to send her my first thoughts, and then send to DC, because I want to check if we are on the same page, and then we have more chances to get it approved, honestly. So yeah, I mean, it was both of us. All right,
Looks great.
let's finish it.
And so when you're doing your art, your art's known for a lot of lines, a lot of angular lines and shading. Are you doing a lot of that yourself, or where does that come from? Where does that desire to make it very angular and dark?
When I started at DC, my art style was pretty different. It was much more polite, and the more you learn about comic art, I believe you make things simpler. So the idea of making it more sketchy, I guess, it's not only because I like, but also because I think it works better. I mean, the more I polite the lines, more stiff the character looks on the page. So this way, I believe the characters feel more real, more natural, more expressive.
What do you feel like your biggest challenge is as an artist when you get a script, and what's the biggest thing that you may think about before you start drawing?
When you work for so long in an industry, you tend to use same formulas, and that's something that I try to avoid. I do sometimes, of course, but that's one of my main concerns. I want to make the art feels fresh. Want to make the art feels different than everything I have ever done, and it's hard, but it's also inspiring, and that's what makes me still loving doing comics. This idea that I can always change the way I do things. Other than that, I'll get very bored.
So you mentioned earlier that you wanted to do Batgirl because it's different than maybe the horror stuff in American Vampire or Batman or Animal Man.
Right.
Is there any other book out there, any other book at DC that you might want to do that's different and new?
I don't know. I think there are many characters I'd love to do. I mean, I would love to draw a Deadman story, for example. He's one of my favorite characters. Yeah. But I don't want just to draw him, For me, it have to feel the right story, feel like it's the right approach on the character. That's what interests me more than just do this character or that character. I want to do a meaningful story.
This looks awesome.
Thank you. It's hard to draw that in this position because since I'm left-handed, I usually draw like this.
But that would be a really boring
So I
presentation.
have to behave here.
So thank you. So you're from another country and you're working for an American company. Is there any advice you give out there to any other maybe aspiring artists out here that aren't from America, that are far away, or even people that are in the States but far away from the big comic companies?
Right. I think it's like the most. Everybody probably told that to you before, but the thing is, keep drawing. Sometimes when we are starting, we don't really have the knowledge that our art will grow up a lot. I mean, it's gonna change. You have to be able to accept the change and keep doing it. So what I'm saying is that if an editor tells you that you're not ready, even if you think that you are, even if your family thinks you're amazing, you know, your brother says you're the best, you're probably not yet. You know?
Well,
Try to listen to the critics, you know, with attention. Sometimes it's just bullshit, but sometimes it's not. You have to pay attention and take the advice that works for you.
so everyone here whose mom says that they're the best, it's BS, guys. It might be BS.
Sometimes they are right.
Right. Well, now if your mom tells you you're the best,
Yeah,
she's not
exactly.
lying anymore,
I
so
mean,
she's good.
Okay, guys, I think that's it.
Awesome. That's beautiful. Looks great. Guys, give it up for Rafael Albuquerque.
Thank you.
Do you want to give this thing away?
Huh?
Do you want to give this thing away?
Sure.
Let's ask a question. Question.
Question?
Do you have one, or I got one if you want.
Like a
Like a Rafael question.
Rafael.
Rafael trivia question. Not like your favorite cereal or anything like that, you know.
That would be a good one.
Or you could ask that if you want.
Okay. What was the first Green Lantern character ever drawn for DC? No. No. No.
Ooh, stump the crowd. There's really only like 5 of them, guys. Are you?
Guy Gardner.
Cool.
Can you make it out to me?
There you go.
Sure, what's her name?
Jose.
Jose. There you go.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Rafael Albuquerque, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.